My friend Herman said he's writing his life story and he needs me to help him find readers. Herman says he needs readers the way a tree needs someone to hear it falling. True, the tree might not be doing anyone any good by falling down, but many things, he says, happen just because they have to, and because they just can't help themselves, because it's in their nature to do so, because it's natural, and you can't argue with the laws of nature. Herman wants to compare his efforts to nature, and to nature's production of the Connecticut crocus. The crocus is the proud one that pokes its head up first in the early spring. Let me read that again. The crocus is the proud one that pokes his head up first in the very early spring, often too early, before winter has really ended. He springs right up and announces his presence for a week or so before the next snowstorm hits and buries him. Herman says he knows the life of the crocus is ridiculous, but the crocus seems to be enjoying itself, and he sees a lot of good in something that appears to be enjoying itself, even if he, the crocus, doesn't really know what's good for him. What I mean is that Herman says many things naturally fight for their own happiness and survival. So even something that's only around for a few weeks of the year should still be looked at with respect for its inherent goodness, for putting up a good fight. Plants have their pride, Herman likes to say, and they don't question it. They know what they're worth and they're comfortable with who they are. They go about their business growing tall and blooming and mating with other flowers that love themselves just as much. He mentioned the laws of nature again and said that the laws of nature say it's in the best interest of the species, animal or vegetable, not to question how great it is. He says that the laws of nature say that a living thing is great just for the fact that it's alive, just for the fact that it exists among all the other existing things. Okay, I have to get through this now, I promised. Herman's got to do what he's doing because he's got to do it. He's doing it now, I know, and just because it's what he does. It's something like fate or destiny, that you do what your body and mind tell you to do, no less, and in my case, no more. But this isn't about me. It's a Herman thing, and for good reason. So stay with me. I'll bore you to death, but I'll make it up to you. I'm going to have to shut up eventually. And in fact, I think it's going to be pretty soon. What is Herman more than anything else? Young. That's what he is. 20-something. If he survived the accident, now maybe 30-something. Indeed, you might think that's too young to be publishing one's journals or one's autobiography, but you might listen to him anyways. It's already published and you've come this far, so why stop now? Herman's strength is putting his thoughts into words. My strength is talking before thinking things through completely. Read that again. My strength is talking before thinking things through completely, which translates roughly into a propensity for making an ass of myself. But if you think about it, it's impossible to think everything all the way through all the time. So why bother trying? It's impossible to think everything all the way through all the time. So why bother trying? We have to go with whatever confidence we have, whatever lack of shame, fearlessness we can muster up. If we're actually going to make the world a more benevolent place the way Herman thinks we are, or says we are, then we'll have to assume we're smart enough and hope that we get the confidence we need to get things done. Herman says it's our gift, the ability to change things in the world that don't agree with us. I say these things are in the world to remind us that it isn't worth it trying to save the damn place. I say the problems of the world and with life in general are just a little bit bigger than even Herman's big funky ego. A little bit bigger than even Herman's big funky ego. I know Herman proved his powers to himself lots of times, when he was young, and he hasn't forgotten a minute of it. He says he feels powerful. Not that he necessarily is powerful. He says it's all relative, and that your feeling is all that counts. He says that he is the feeling of power, but no intention of exercising it in the traditional sense. He says he would rather spend his time looking for other people that have the feeling too. He says he likes being in the company of people who feel the way he does. Oh great, a bunch of Hermans. Herman says that the feeling of power is the most important feeling in the world. But he says people need to realize where the feeling of power comes from. Herman says most people have power but don't always admit it to themselves. He also says people, like me for example, might not exercise all the power we have because we don't know what we want. Because we don't know what we want. We don't know what we're trying to get out of life. And yeah, I guess you might say that I'm not at all, try it again. And yeah, I guess you might say that I'm not all that clear about it, what I want to get out of life. Herman says people are plagued by feelings of superficiality. I say people like feeling superficial. I say it gives people faith. It gives people faith that somebody smarter, somebody who knows what they're doing, is calling the important shots for us. Sound familiar? Well, it wouldn't sound familiar to Herman, a guy who never put much faith in much besides himself.